Welcome. Hi, I am Stephanie Lindloff. I'm an eco intuitive coach and teacher, and this is my free offering to you about reclaiming your peace through nature. I help busy and anxious women reclaim your peace and help you hear your intuition more clearly in sacred moments with Mother Earth. It's so good to be here with you again. I've been um, had some health stuff, just some nasty colds, still kind of dealing with it. So I wasn't here last week, but I'm really happy to be here today. And thanks for joining. So it's episode 52. And I'm guided to share about how to begin freeing yourself from limited self beliefs. I've been working on this a lot recently, so no wonder I want to share what I'm learning and experiencing with you. And I'll share my story in just a little bit. But first of all, what are limited self beliefs and where do they come from? Well, I think it's pretty easy to understand what they are. It's those old stories, old thoughts, old beliefs that we have about ourselves that are not true and perhaps never were true at all. And these beliefs, a belief is a thought that we have had many times. It becomes ingrained as a truth within our brain, within our consciousness. And we have the opportunity to identify those self beliefs that are limiting, that have no useful purpose for us anymore, that cause us a lot of pain and suffering. And we have the ability to release the hold that they have on our lives. And man, it can be a heavy weight that limiting self beliefs puts on our lives. It affects our inner world in so many ways. And of course, whenever our inner world is affected, it affects our outer world as well. So, addressing and healing limiting self beliefs is such a core part of healing ourselves. So, where do they come from? They often come from our conditioning, our social and cultural conditioning. They also often come from our families of origin, from our schooling and academic experience. They can come from a lot of things that we experience in our lives. And we all have limiting self beliefs. The thing is, we don't all recognize that we have them. And when we become open and receptive to the idea of identifying them, of being able to recognize when you have a limiting self belief, when you are open to that, and when you are willing to be courageous and recognize them, that is the first step of freeing yourself from those beliefs that can really put so many restraints on the way that you live your life and the way that you experience life on this beautiful planet Earth. So, it's a big topic, so much to be said about it, but I really wanted to start with just a few of the basic things. One way which I have experienced and I'm sure is a common experience, one way to identify the presence of a self-limiting belief is when you're engaged in something that you love, that you're really drawn to do and that you know is something that brings you joy. And yet, you experience this feeling of resistance, of self judgment, and self criticism. You might even feel anxiety and fear. This is something that I was experiencing and have been experiencing, and I'll tell you my story in just a moment. Once you sense that, start getting curious about it. Once you sense that, don't go into super hyper overanalyzing mode. That's all in our heads. This work is really heart centered. It's energetic work, it is heart led, and it truly is spiritual work. It's something that we want to work with our souls in doing. Um, and one of the ways to start is immediately when you recognize that you have a a self-limiting belief or a limited self-belief that kind of, go hand in hand, is to send yourself compassion because you're recognizing that you have this belief that is not true about yourself and that it is really hampering your ability to live your life in the way that you want to. So, first step is always to send yourself compassion because you have the courage and the power and the insight to recognize that something is misaligned for you. This allows you to really come into experiencing more stillness around the issue, to be able to hear the language of your soul and your soul's guidance, to be able to hear what the divine has to share with you about this self-limiting belief that you hold within yourself. And one of the ways that I love to experience this stillness and to teach everybody about is connecting with Mother Earth. Because when you come into presence with just looking at a beautiful plant or a beautiful flower or being with an amazing tree or just watching the birds or the clouds, when you let yourself come into stillness, that is a place of being open and receptive to receiving all of the healing that your soul and the divine and Mother Earth are offering you in every moment. Coming into stillness also allows you to observe your thinking from a place of non judgment, to be able to step back and simply observe what you are thinking and feeling, to recognize that it's happening, but it may not be based in truth. And that is at the key of freeing yourself from a limiting self belief. So, once you can identify that you have that limiting self-belief in some respect, you may not even have identified exactly what it is. Start to get curious about where this originated from. You might know exactly the moment that you ask yourself that question, you might know precisely when that limiting self-belief became a thought, became a part of your awareness. For others of us, it may take a little longer to go back in time to discover that origin point. And one of my favorite teachers and mentors is Martha Beck, and she has the wonderful phrase of walking the cat back. I'm sure that she didn't develop it. I think it came from a completely different place, but I love how she talks about moving back to the point of origin for something like a limiting self-belief is like you're walking the cat back. And I love cats, and I just love to imagine them walking back, walking back to where it all began. This is something that we have the ability to do. And in some cases, it is extremely helpful. In many cases, it's extremely helpful for you to do this in partnership with a coach or with a therapist. I use both in my work. I am a coach, but I have my own coach. And I also have a therapist. These women, these people, these skilled professionals are so pivotal to my ability to do this work. And I encourage you to reach out for the support that you need in this work as well. So, what I've been working through has been, I have realized just within the last couple of weeks, has been something that has been with me since I was probably 9 or 10 years old. And I only have really recently come to recognize it as as profound as it has been in affecting my life. So, ever since I was a child, nature has always been my special place. It's been the place where I receive so much goodness and just that feeling of peace and joy and connection and belonging and all of the wonderful things that nature, that connecting with Mother Earth does for us. And if you've been listening to my channel for a while, seeing my lives for a while, maybe you're a subscriber to my newsletter, I hope so. You have seen this. You know that this is at the core of my teachings. Well, as a kid, I didn't quite understand what this was all about for me because I didn't really hear other people talking about nature in that same way. I felt that I was hearing things, I was communicating with the trees and the plants and the animals and the ground, the earth. It just felt all very alive to me, like beyond the living of what science would tell us. It felt, spiritual, deeply spiritual. At the same time, I was raised in a Christian tradition. I was raised in the Lutheran church. It was a very loving, welcoming place, but it just never resonated for me in that same way. And I saw everybody around me having these, deeply spiritual experiences within the context of the church. And it just wasn't the same for me. And so as a child, of course, that raised a lot of, you know, why am I different? And what is this all about? And it was, it was just something that was a little heavy, a lot for a child to deal with. Well, I began to learn more about nature-based traditions, about pagan traditions, and native traditions, native peoples, the traditions that they have, and all resonated much more deeply for me. And so I finally started to feel a sense of belonging and community. And although I wasn't a part of a community at that point, um, eh, so because this felt like a really big part of my life, I decided to share this awareness with my mom. Now, I'm an only child. My mom was my best friend. She has been gone now for almost 13 years. I miss her terribly, but her spirit is very much alive within me. And so, of course, because I was so close to my mom, I wanted to reach out to her and I wanted to talk with her about what I was experiencing and just, have somebody to share this with. Well, I did share it with her. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said enough to scare the hell out of her, apparently. My mom was raised Catholic. She was a very spiritual person and was very Christian and in her beliefs. And she was scared. When I told her what I was experiencing, what I felt, the resonance that I had with nature, what I wasn't feeling through the church, it scared her. And as a result, her response to me and everything that I shared with her was very fearful. She expressed great concern for my safety, that I was going to be exposed to dark forces, to, the devil, to evil. She was very concerned. And this was such an extreme reaction relative to all of the joy and love and belonging that I felt with nature that, of course, it scared me too. And of course, I was only like 9 or 10 years old, still trying to figure out the language to use for what I was experiencing. And so as a result, I really kind of went into the closet on my spirituality. I didn't talk about it with anybody. I questioned whether I was doing something wrong. I started to distance myself more and more from what I was experiencing and just started to, dismiss it as an overactive imagination. But I really, as the years went on, I knew that that was missing in my life and that I had once experienced it and very much wanted to experience it once again. So, um, sorry, I'm gonna get a drink of water. And so I did, as an adult, a young adult in my 20s, I started to explore my spirituality, my nature-based spirituality more independently. I still really never came into a community or a place of belonging around it. It was all very much of an independent solo kind of experience for me. And I ended up feeling so strongly about the value, the healing, the love, and the connection that was associated with this work, with connecting with Mother Earth, with our souls, with the divine through nature, that I started a business around it, right? I started my business, Our Natural Wisdom. I began coaching and teaching and speaking about this from a place of wanting to help, wanting more, especially women who experience anxiety, to know that you can have these deeply healing moments with the earth, and it can bring you so much peace and clarity in your life and can really be life changing, as it has been in my life. And yet, I was, and still do on occasion, struggling in my business in what I was sharing and how I was sharing, because I still had this limiting self belief that what I was talking about was somehow wrong or dangerous, that it would be something that could cause harm to me or to my family or to others, and that I I shouldn't be doing it, or I should be doing it much less. I shouldn't be so out there. I shouldn't talk about the fact that I can hear trees talk. I should talk about, "Oh, isn't it nice to hug a tree?" I backpedaled. And if you've been following me for a while, you may have seen these swings and how the information, the content that I put out there. Um, so this feels like I'm really sharing something that's very fundamental to your experience of the work that I offer as well. And I am only now realizing how I have this very deep seated limiting self belief around this work that I feel called to bring to the world. And there's a tremendous amount of anxiety and fear that has been generated out of this. Fears of doing these lives. Today, I didn't feel so fearful, but man, there have been a lot of fearful days right before I've gone live and while I've been live speaking with you. A lot of anxiety about speaking to this work. And it's been so heavy and so misaligned for me that I could never quite pinpoint what was going on. Why was I feeling this heaviness? Why was I feeling this way? And the energy that I was putting out, I knew that it was not, I knew that it wasn't the energy that I wanted to be putting out for you, for the world. So recently, I've really come to understand that this very much stems from that one conversation that I had with my loving mother, who I do not hold any hard feelings for because of this. She was responding based on her own limited self beliefs, her own limited understanding of what is possible, the goodness, the belonging, the connection, the love, and the healing that is possible in this world that goes beyond so many religious contexts. It's beyond that. It is on the spiritual level. And so I hold no anger towards my mom. I do send her so much compassion. And most importantly, I send myself so much compassion for everything that I've moved through on this journey so far, despite this limiting self belief. And that's really at the crux of this. It's sending yourself compassion because when you recognize that there's something that is time to be healed, that is the first place to start is through compassion for yourself. Oh my gosh, had a big cough attack there, guys. So sorry. So now I'm all teary-eyed, maybe for more reasons than the cough. But how do you free yourself from a limited self-belief? Start with that self-compassion. That is the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself. It will be a process, but it will be so worth it. You will feel the weight lifting off of you, as I am, and it will change your life. It will change your inner world, and it will transform your outer world. So, in closing, I just want to send you so much love and witnessing the courageous work that you are doing to heal yourself in these times. It is such important work for you and for our world. And I want you to remember that Mother Earth is always there for you to connect with, to receive peace and healing so that you can do this work that is so important for you, for your loved ones, for your community, and for the entire world. I'm going to close there. If you're interested in receiving my email newsletter, I encourage you to click the link in the description below, and you'll receive a free guide to 5 beautiful native plants that provide healing textures and easy directions to how you can incorporate them within your garden. Because there's so much healing to be received from connecting more deeply with Mother Earth. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear any comments that you might have about this episode. Thank you so much. See you next week, once again on YouTube Live. Thanks. Bye bye.